Bizarre Brain Comics. Hello, my comic book friends, and welcome to Bizarre Brain Comics. I am Gary, your host. A few days ago, that was last week, I had a video that I called my Lost Treasure Haul. That was a bunch of books that I had bought and mislaid, and then came across some months later, and so I was doing them as a haul video, and this is the second part of that. This is just a few books here. And we'll start off with this one, which is Magnus Robot Fighter, number 40, from Valiant Comics. This was, I think, about 1994, thereabouts. This is Magnus was, of course, the science fiction superhero character created by Russ Manning for Gold Key back in the 60s. And in the early 90s, Valiant, under Jim Shooter, former editor-in-chief at Marvel, was the boss man at Valiant at that time. And they picked up the superhero characters and other characters from Gold Key, and they started off okay, and they just handled them really poorly. I hated this version of Magnus, but I thought I'd get one, maybe we'll break it down sometime. It has some really nice artwork, and all these Valiant books had some nice artwork, and especially great was the coloring. They all hand colored, and like watercolor. It's they're dyes, artists' dyes, done as in a watercolor. Had some nice fashion, and that was pretty unique at the time. Before they were doing the coloring on computer and stuff. And they colored it by hand and then reproduced it directly from that coloring. Gave it a more artsy look to it, and that was probably the best part of the Valiant comics. I didn't like what they did with Magnus. I did not like what they did with Man of the Atom, and I just desperately hated what they did with Turok. Made him Turok, dinosaur hunter, and gave him machine guns and crap like that. I just hated that. I like Turok as Turok. Well, I'll cover Turok sometime. The real Turok. And here is Batman and Robin. This is from what I think was 96, 97? I've forgotten the year. This was the fourth Batman movie in the 90s. And this is the comic adaptation of that. This is the one with that really awful one with Arnold Schwarzenegger, which, if you remember the movie, it had some good costumes, good production values, and really crappy, so poorly written that even what's his name, George Clooney, who should have been perfect with that chin, should have been perfect for Batman, and he is a very accomplished actor, and he couldn't do it. The only really saving grace was Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy, and they had that horrendous version of Bane. He looked right. He didn't, more or less right. but he sure as hell didn't act like Bane. He was just an idiot goon. But remember, Bane actually defeated Batman, but it has some great artwork in it, and the comic book is better than the movie. As I recall, I haven't read this one yet. I think I had it back then. I should still have it. It's possible I missed it. I don't know. But just looking through it, it looks so much better than the movie did. And here is from Dark Horse, part 3 of 4, from Robert E. Howard's Iron Hand of Almuric, written by Roy Thomas, and I guess the art by Mike Winchell. There's some nice artwork. I'm not sure if this is a new adaptation or an original story set in the Almuric universe by Robert E. Howard, because this is by Dark Horse, but that had Almuric was originally serialized in Epic magazine. Then we have Ultraverse Prime #1. This is from Malibu Comics. This was from the early 90s. I'm thinking about 92ish. I've forgotten. I looked through it. I was kind of like this one. This actually does not have his origin in it. I think that was in a different title, but I am not positive on that yet. And here he was, of course, grotesquely oversized, with bulging muscles, but it was actually a little boy, and something happened. I can't remember his origin, and he was able to transform, kind of like Shazam, except no magic words. It was all some kind of sciencey thing, and he transformed into this character, but he only would be in this fashion, as this figure, for a limited time, and then he would sometimes inconveniently in the middle of battle start to turn back into the boy. And it was a process. The body, this giant body, would kind of slough off and the boy would be inside it. And I kind of liked the storyline that had Prime and versus Anti-Prime, or whatever they called him, an evil version of Prime. And then here is from 2004. This is Hero 16, which was a reimagining of the Dial H for Hero stories. So, and I don't think I've ever seen this any other, that I remember anyway, any other copies from this title, issues from this title. And I don't know that much about it, but it's Dial H for Hero, and they have the dial, and they dial up Hero. It's slightly altered, but I think I mentioned it because I found something about the research in my research for when I did the Dial H for Hero episode. And here, this goes back to the I think it was 1991, maybe even farther than that, as Dark Horse Presents. And this is which issue? This is number 76, and is an anthology title. And the lead story in this was I don't even know the actual name of the. I think the main character was usually the eyeball kid. It's this fellow right here, and it was basically written and drawn by Eddie Campbell, and it was a reimagining of the Greek heroes as if they truly existed and were still around today. And then this cover is basically an homage to Jack Kirby Thor covers, even down to kind of slightly imitating the Vince Colletta style of inking on those books. It has 2 other stories in here, a variety of different art styles in those three stories. And I remember this. This was fairly popular at the time, and those alternative, the Eyeball Kid stuff was fairly popular and did well in some reprints. Then here is Robotech 2, The Sentinels, number 8 from Eclipse Comics. This was, I think it was about 94. And this is a time, remember in the 80s and early 90s, Robotech was very popular anime. And this is all done in, it is an American production. The comic book is, but it is done in a manga style. And then, speaking of manga, here we have Cyber 7 issue number 9. I think it's number 9. Number's kind of, yeah, number 9 covered up. This is book 2 of Rockland storyline, and I do remember seeing that. This is actually from the 80s, and this is from Studio Proteus. And this is actual Japanese manga. I've never read this one before, so I haven't read this one yet. And it is manga. I do remember seeing it on the stands at the time. I don't know anything about it. Cyber 7, I don't know anything about it, but I looked through it, and it is a Japanese production, and then is translated and flipped for American style reading, from left to right instead of right to left, by Shuho Itahashi. Excuse the horrible pronunciation there. Domo arigato. And I don't know, but it looks, I don't know but I don't know anything about it. Don't know what it's about. I'll have to take a look and read it, and we'll see. We'll see what it's all about. Yeah, so that's what I've got this time to finish up that Lost Treasure haul. And so please like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment. Tell me, which of these books do you like? Which ones would you like me to delve deeper into and have a whole episode about? We'll see if we can do that. And because I like the read the comments. I read all the comments, and if they're coherent, I try to respond to them. There's some that come out just totally incoherent, and I'm sorry. There's no response. But otherwise I try to respond. So thank you for joining me, and remember, comics are art.